ancient Egypt, the pharaoh was the bridge between the world of humans and that of the divine. As king of Egypt, he was considered a living god. It was in 1279 BC, 1,000 years after the pyramids and 1,000 years before Cleopatra. An Egyptian pharaoh, Seti I, had died, and his son, destined for unimaginable greatness, was about to succeed the throne. At dawn, on the 27th day of the 3rd month of summer, Ramses II, not yet 30, became king of Egypt, the pharaoh, chosen one of the sun god Re, the 3rd pharaoh of the 19th dynasty. When he ascended to the throne, Egypt was emerging from a period of instability, and her borders were at risk. Ramses fought back invaders on all sides and expanded Egypt's territory. His greatest challenge, the Battle of Kadesh against the rival Hittite Empire, where he fought bravely, even in hand-to-hand combat. Declaring himself the victor, Ramses celebrated the story on temples throughout Egypt. He documented it in such detail that the Battle of Kadesh is considered the most famous battle of the ancient world. Under the wise and effective rule of Ramses, Egypt enjoyed prosperity. A measure of this wealth, the remarkable temples he commissioned throughout the land, becoming one of Egypt's greatest builders. By carving his name and his likeness on them, he ensured that he would never be forgotten. At Abu Simbel, Ramses also built a temple carved out of sandstone cliffs to honor his first love and queen, Nefertari. Dedicating it to her, he inscribed on the facade, "For whom the sun shines." Her beauty captured in stone, Nefertari appears equal to him in size, a rare honor for an Egyptian queen. Nefertari stayed at Ramses' side until her death, her lavish tomb a final testament to his great love for her. When Ramses died, he was over 90 years old, had fathered over 100 children, and reigned for nearly 67 years. Few could remember a time in Egypt ruled by any other pharaoh. With reverence, his body was prepared for the afterlife and his mummy enshrined in the Valley of the Kings. But less than 200 years later, his tomb was plundered by robbers, and over the centuries it was ravaged by floods and filled with debris. His remains and all the riches sent with him to his afterlife were thought to be lost forever. Then, a chance discovery in the 19th century uncovered a cache of 50 royal mummies. Would Ramses II be among them? Join us now to experience the life of King Ramses II, the Pharaoh of Pharaohs, who epitomizes power and wealth at the height of ancient Egypt. Discover the grandeur and opulence of his world, the world of Egypt's kings. Meet Ramses the Great and marvel at the gold of the pharaohs. Ramses II and his Egyptian forces are on the march. Their aim, to seize control of the city-state of Kadesh from their rival, the Hittite kingdom, and expand Egypt's borders. The Hittite king amasses his army, a coalition of tens of thousands of fierce warriors from allied territories, and also moves toward Kadesh. A Egyptian accounts say the Hittites covered the mountains and filled the valleys and were like locusts in their numbers. King Ramses is woefully outnumbered, but he is not one to back down. Among his troops are warriors from his previous conquests, Nubians, Libyans, and Sheridan pirates. Just hours from their target, Ramses receives intel that the Hittites are still several days' journey away. He decides to make camp with his Amun division. His other battalions, including an elite force from Amuru, are still hours away. Ramses will launch his attack once the rest of his army arrives. But his plan is soon foiled. Near camp, Ramses' guards interrogate two Hittite defectors. They reveal the Hittite army is actually in hiding just across the river. Suddenly, the Hittites' chariots smash into Ramses' Ray division. In the melee, the Egyptians flee and lead the Hittites directly into the sanctuary of the Egyptian king. Ramses faces thousands of enemy charioteers. The pharaoh fights bravely, his pet lion at his side, while the Hittite king waits in safety on the other side of the river. The battle rages, and the Hittites sense victory. But Ramses' elite warriors arrive, giving their king the power to wage a counterattack. Unleashing a fury of arrows, the Egyptians force the Hittites back across the river. Ramses himself describes the scene. I made them plunge into the water like crocodiles. Those who fell down did not rise. Most of the Hittite force drown or are killed, including the king's brother. The Hittite king calls for a truce. To count the dead, Ramses' soldiers remove a hand from each fallen Hittite. And King Ramses rides away from the field of battle, declaring himself the victor. A Hittite version of the story suggests the battle was at best a draw. 17 years after the Battle of Kadesh, King Ramses signed a treaty with the Hittites. It ushered in a peace that lasted nearly a century. It is the first peace treaty recorded in history and remains the basis for treaties between nations today. King Ramses believed his victory at Kadesh was the greatest achievement of his reign. He celebrated it in extraordinary detail on temples throughout Egypt, making it the most famous battle of the ancient world. In the pharaoh's own words, I found the enemy chariots scattering before my horses. I slaughtered them at my will. Behold, I am victorious. Me alone.
scarab beetles push these balls of dung ahead of them. This ball looks like the sun. So as a result, the scarab beetle became the symbol of the sun god, sacred to the god of thought, the god of learning, as a beach.
Egyptian art and culture. One Colossus, wrestled to London by a treasure hunter, he remains Egypt's greatest pharaoh.